What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a few different Scream 6 items, starting, of course, with this picture in the background. If we blow it up, if we look at the full thing, well, number one, it looks awesome, but number two, I guess we can start to try to place it, right? Where would it be? I would assume, this is just an initial gut feeling reaction, is this towards the end of the movie when we see Sam and Tara running down the hallway and then Ghostface is kind of chasing? It certainly seems like it, just because, well, Ghostface is obviously like breaking into a sprint here, but also going through the screen, right, where the projector. But I would assume this is towards the end, also because we do know this is the shrine area, and I assume we only come back here one or two, actually two times in the entire movie, I am predicting, right? When they first find it, when they go over everything, and then at the end of the film. So that's where I'm going to assume this picture is. Good, in terms of like grading it on, is it spoiling anything? Nope, doing pretty good there. And of course, this picture came from IGN, and it's part of their festival, their fan fest that takes place over, I guess, later in the week / this weekend. And they said how there's going to be more news for it, this Scream 6, on Friday and Saturday. So I don't know if they mean that Friday, Saturday, both days we're going to get Scream 6 information, or if it's the whole thing is taking place on Friday, Saturday, and Scream is just kind of one piece to it. I would kind of lean towards that one, just because, I mean, again, at this point, we're about a month. We're actually a little bit less than a month. I don't need anything else. I know we keep making these videos, but, and as long as they keep giving us stuff, I guess I'm going to talk about it, but we don't really need anything else. You've done pretty well in terms of not spoiling things. Try to keep it at a minimum. And now one final thing I want to do is I want to look at the posters that were put out yesterday. But at Brittany Vinyl over on Twitter, right? Tristan, we've had him on the channel before. Great guy, and he's done some incredible detective work on Scream, one of the best in the business. He put together a rather interesting graphic. Now, a lot of people have grouped up the images, right? In terms of like all 13 of them, I think. But he did it a little bit differently. He looked at the knife, both its placement in terms of, well, actually the entire thing, right? What direction it is. Which way is the blade facing? So I want to look at his Twitter. I want to look at this kind of graphic and maybe see if we can figure anything out from it. Okay, so here you go. Here's the image, and you got all of them, and they're all, again, grouped based off of the positioning of their knife. Now, you look at it, going down is Gale, across and up. And by this, I guess he means the blade is facing Tara, right? So she's kind of on her own. Gale's on her own. Detective Bailey is also on his own, straight right. Okay, and then you look at Sam and Quinn, and they're across right. So they're leaned a little bit, somewhat similar to Tara, but the blade is facing the opposite way. Then you have across left, which is Mindy, Chad, and Anika. Now, technically, Anika's is a little bit more angled than Chad and Mindy's, but again, I mean, it's maybe just how they're holding it right in their hand. Across down right, we have Jason and Ethan. So that one, it's angled actually kind of like Tara's, but the blade is facing the other way, right? And then you have left, straight, right, which we have Kirby, Laura, and Danny. And that's where the knife is facing straight up, much like Detective Bailey. Theirs are very, very similar, but the blade, because of where he's holding it, right, it's on like the opposite side of his face. The blade for Kirby, Laura, and Danny is on a side where their face is primarily still in front of the blade, let's say. So I will say, when looking at the posters yesterday, I did think about the placement. Like, that is something that came into my mind, but I never really thought to, or just never, maybe I'm too lazy, I never took the time to group them together. It's an interesting grouping, right? Because if you don't worry about the knife placement, maybe the knife's angle and which way the blade is facing is a sign. And I believe, based off of, I think, is a Fives poster, sometimes it's like if it's on the left side versus the right side, like that could mean something. But if you just look at their grouping, right? You have Gale on her own, Tara on her own, and Detective Bailey on her own. Then you have Sam and Quinn. That doesn't make too much sense to me. I think Jason and Ethan make a lot of sense being paired together. And then you have Mindy, Chad, and Anika. Anika, I guess, girlfriend to Mindy, right? So maybe there's something there. And then I would argue that last group is maybe the most interesting. And again, these are comparables. Like these knives these people are holding, while again, there's a little fluctuation. Anika's is a little bit more tilted than Chad's. Mindy's is also tilted, but not as much as Anika's, right? But that last group of Kirby, Laura, and Danny, That one's the most peculiar to me because is that like the death one? Now, we've talked about it before. A lot of these characters have to die. In fact, maybe roughly half of them have to die, if not more. So, it could be assigned to that. You look at, Samara Weaving's character, Laura. I think a lot of us expect her to be the opening kill. I think the proof is kind of there in terms of her only in the same outfit. It does seem like a prolonged or just long kind of chase scene that's going to result in her dying. Now, whether you think that maybe she'll be a fake out, but then there's that thought with Jason, right? Tony Revolori's character. How many fake outs can they possibly do in one film? I guess we'll find out. But I think what scares me, right? I guess maybe you could look to Anika in the same way, though, right? Or even Jason. In fact, if you start to think about it like that, maybe it falls apart. You got some deaths, I think, built into each of these groups, right? So, like Quinn, right? Liana Liberato's character, I think she's a goner. I think for sure Jason is going to be gone. I think, obviously, Anika does not make it through that ladder sequence no matter how it goes. I think Laura doesn't make it. Now, again, you also have a couple more toss-ups. Like Detective Bailey does not have to make it out of this movie alive. In fact, I'd kind of be shocked, right? One of Mindy or Chad, do they go? Danny, does he make it? Is he like a Derek, or will he survive and kind of be like the opposite of that? And Ethan, if Ethan's Ghostface, he's gone, right? Because he will eventually die at the end. Maybe they're hiding Ghostface in each group or in one of the groups. Like, you can go down a couple different angles with it, right? As we talked about, Henry Czerny is again not here, annoyingly enough. But, having Kirby, I think, mixed in with Laura and Danny, that maybe not scares me the most, but definitely has me thinking the most, because Danny is such a wild card. I think he could be, there's three options most likely, right? He's Ghostface, he's not Ghostface, and he dies, right? So like a Derek thing in 2. Or he's not Ghostface and he actually lives. They keep him around for the next one, which would be a little bit of a evolution, or, just trying to do something different than what you did in 2. So he's got those three options. He's kind of a wild card, just like Kirby is. Kirby, I don't think she's Ghostface, but maybe there's some people that do. But then you have the other options of, okay, she either dies, right, maybe in a sacrificial kind of way, or she lives. And putting her with the other two, one of which we know, I think very, securely, is not going to make it past the first 10 minutes. It's an interesting play. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you read anything from the knife placements? You think they're trying to say something with it? Let me know. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.